Would you believe higher education deserts? Hi, I'm Scott Ott with Bill Whittle and Stephen Green. This episode of Right Angle is brought to you by the members at BillWhittle.com. Gentlemen, you probably remember a few years back during the Obama administration when we were first alerted to the American crisis of food deserts. And this is basically places where there's no Trader Joe's within walking distance of your home. Well, as it turns out, we now have higher education deserts. And lest you think, Stephen Green, that a higher education desert is just another word for a university, this is actually—
I was going to say the humanities department.
That's right. This is these are areas, apparently, according to the American Council on Education, 13 million people in the United States live in higher education deserts, mostly in the Midwest and the Great Plains. These are areas that are where it's not convenient for somebody to be able to drive to a college or a university. Apparently, over the last 10 years, if you mark the 10-year period from 2012 to 2022, college enrollment actually declined by about 2 million. But what they're concerned here about is some private colleges, small colleges, nonprofit colleges that are going out of business. There have been a dozen of those or so recently since 2020. And also majors and courses that are being eliminated as schools try to cut back on funding because, enrollment has declined. Steve, it seems like that the sign of the times is now everything that's not going the way that the left would prefer that it would go must be referred to as a desert. Do you think that America is really going to be gasping for water and imagining an oasis as they stagger through the higher education desert?
Oh, yeah, no. And the thing about these so-called deserts is we're almost certainly going to get more of them. The value of your college diploma has declined, really, unless you're getting a STEM degree. The costs keep going up. What you're actually taught, I wasn't joking about the humanities department. I'm a huge lover of the humanities, but it's all become Marxist deconstruction where you don't learn. The academy no longer performs its job, which is to protect and promote the culture that it represents. And instead, Western universities are in the business of tearing down, destroying, and poisoning people against the culture they're supposed to represent. So I think we need more of these deserts, frankly, if we're going to improve education. It's not that I want less education, I want more of it. And unfortunately, you've got huge swaths of the education system that no longer educate. They no longer promote Western civilization. They try to tear it down. So the quicker, really, that people give up on this rotten to the core system, these Marxists who just absolutely hate us and have poisoned a couple of generations against our own culture, really the better. And that means the faster we can build something new to replace it. Because if we don't have the current university system, we're going to need something like it. A culture does not self-perpetuate. You need the university to do that. And that's why I'm so happy to see what Christopher Rufo has been doing down in Florida, and he's apparently going to have a role in the Trump administration. But he's the guy that Governor Ron DeSantis hired to change, which Florida university was it? The liberal arts school. He's returned it to its liberal arts roots, not liberal in the sense of left wing, because that's not what liberal means or has ever mean. They hijacked my word, damn it, but into an actual liberal arts school, and we need more of that. If we can't save the university, we've got to tear it down and we've got to replace it with something that does the job it's supposed to do. So yeah, bring on the desertification of the university, please.
Bill, I'm convinced that climate change is to blame for the desertification of higher education. Actually, desert sounds really good right now. But it's and here's an indicator. The lead to this story, which is a byline out of Cleveland, Mississippi, talks about a woman who has a toddler and no car, and she enrolled this fall in a 4-year university in her small town in Mississippi, Delta State University. She planned to major in digital media arts, but before she could start, the college eliminated that major along with 20 other degree programs, including history, English, chemistry, and music. And she was advised to change her major. Okay, so all of that sounds, oh, what a sad tale that she won't be able to get her digital media arts degree. But then in parentheses, after it says she was advised to change her major, it says, last week, the university's governing board approved a new Bachelor of Arts degree in digital media. To me, Bill, end of story. It sounds like, it's like a headline looking for a story, and 6 graphs into it, the headline discovers that no story could be found. But there are schools that are, eliminating majors and reducing courses and stuff like that. But weren't we told, Bill, that thanks to the internet, which now everybody can get for cheap because of the Biden administration, that we no longer needed to drag our toddler to our college classes, in an Uber car because we lack a vehicle of our own, but we could actually get an education where we were? Is this really in 2024, is it a crisis that we don't have enough colleges and universities within driving distance for everybody?
Well, I mean, where do you start with this whole thing? The problem with this is that first of all, there are just far too many people that are educated way beyond their intelligence. That's the first problem. The second problem is that what universities used to offer were the kind of instruction that you could not get anywhere else in subjects that were difficult. I can remember being a freshman at the University of actually I was a freshman at community college. I was a sophomore at the University of Florida in '79. And if you get there late for registration, there's only a few courses left, and one of them was called Rocks for Jocks, which was like such a basic geology. It was designed for football players to pass so that they could continue to play on the team. And
now, Bill, it wasn't called Rocks for Jocks.
It was. That was the official
that's
name.
what everybody called it.
Geology 101
Everybody
Rocks
calls
for
it
Jocks.
that, but that's not the name of the course.
No. The entire purpose of Rocks for Jocks was to make sure that the Florida Gator football team had a university that they could be proud of. But my point is that it has evolved from when you just mentioned that they canceling chemistry and history. This is not how you solve the problem. You're supposed to go to college and universities to study chemistry and history and engineering and medicine. What they need to be canceling are all of the studies. Those things need to go away. There's a big difference between getting a degree in engineering and getting a degree in engineering studies, which I'm sure is the study of how engineering is repressive and part of the patriarchy and all the rest of this stuff. So universities have gotten to be the joke that they are because the federal government is subsidizing people going to school to study things that you don't need to go to school to study.
Yeah.
All of these sociology classes, all of this study stuff is just garbage, Scott. So, as far as your question about, do we need to go to college when we have the internet? The internet is just as an example is probably the most definitive and clear-cut example of both the genius of the human mind and the defects of the human mind. On one level, it has provided us with access to the entire knowledge base of the species. And I can remember some fragment of a speech that Abraham Lincoln might have said once. I'll type in 3 words, I get the whole speech, where he said it, when he delivered it, who he delivered it to, all of this stuff. But the bottom line is, while we could be getting, all of us, be getting PhD educations online for free, the internet is largely used for pornography watching and video game playing. And that's just the fact of nature. If you were to give people this universal income that everybody talks about wishing they would have, they wouldn't sit there and learn how to become, they wouldn't be getting doctorates in philosophy.
Yeah.
They'd be watching WKRP and Cincinnati marathons just like the rest of us, and therein lies the problem. So yes, there is a place for a brick and mortar university, and maybe the thing to do, guys, is to rebrand the idea of university, because I think universities have been so badly damaged by by what, as Steve talked about, with all the Marxism and all of the, all the sociology classes and all of the political indoctrination and the global warming, all of it. Maybe we should be not thinking about universities anymore, but a much smaller number of institutes, where institutes are where you go to study things that are serious subjects that have to be studied seriously, and you have to pass an extremely rigorous entrance exam that is based on merit and not based on anything other than merit. And this is where you graduate your crop of engineers and surgeons and architects and very little else. Most of of people can get through life with a high school education and specific job training for the job that they're interested in.
A good trade.
The entire information age economy, the gig-based information age economy, is predicated on experience. I've never hired anybody for an editor or a director of photography based on what school they went to or what degree they went to. I hired them based on their real. And that's really the same thing goes for hairdressers, right? Nobody goes to a hairdresser because they graduated from the Carleton Institute of Cosmetology and they got their license on the wall. They go there because they're recommended by people who know that they give great haircuts. And this is the world that we've inherited, and it's about time we got used to it.
The whole notion of a higher education desert is laughable to me. First of all, they start out with this premise vaguely defined that 13 million people live in so-called higher education deserts. And I'm thinking, what's the population of the United States these days? 330 something?
Something like that, yeah.
Million people. And what you're saying is that 13 million of those people don't live within easy driving distance of universities that offer basically every possible degree program that somebody could want. Because the problem with this young person in Mississippi is, at first at least, until paragraph 6, she had a problem because she could no longer major in media arts design. And she didn't have a car, and she had a child, and so she had some hardship to deal with, and she was going to take a 4-year program in digital media arts design, which, as Bill just pointed out, she needs a portfolio, not a degree. And what the story really told me about that person was, after 12 years in the public education system, she does not have the basic tools to learn things, even though she has the whole wealth of human knowledge at her fingertips essentially for free. And so that's a failing on the part of the public education system, that you could go through 12 years of learning and still not know how to learn. And so there's a professor that they quote in here from Appalachian State University in Boone, North Carolina, who says this is the crisis that he's talking about. We are asking rural folks to accept a set of options that folks in cities and suburbs would never accept. It's almost like, well, this is what you get to learn, and this is how you get to learn it, and if you don't like it, you can move. Yes, Professor, you can move.
I went to college.
It wasn't in my backyard. No. I had to move there.
That's so stupid.
And so what they're really saying is the problem is that we don't have a distribution of major colleges and universities, because they have to have all these programs, across the United States in a per capita distribution to make sure that every person is within driving distance of a school where they could conceivably get a digital media arts degree. Now, as it turns out, if she sticks with Delta State University, she's going to be able to get a bachelor's in digital media arts. But this is a problem that's not a problem at all. And it's the newspaper and some activists who are trying to make it a problem that for some reason people in rural areas are dreaming wild dreams, and they can never have those dreams because they have to still live on that farm in Kansas. And they're never going to get a chance to go to like a big city like Cleveland or something where they could actually get an education. It's an absurdity. I probably should have just blown it off and moved on to the next news story, but it never ceases to astound me, the kind of things that can show up in an allegedly legitimate major big city newspaper. I mean, basically they're saying the problem is if you live in a rural area, you don't live in a city. It's like, yes. And there are reasons why people want to live in rural areas, and there are reasons why people leave rural areas to go to cities or to more populated areas. So in any case, I don't think that we are going to see many young people dying on the sands of these higher education deserts. I wouldn't be concerned about it myself. And if we're lucky, that trend of a decrease in enrollment in colleges and universities in the United States will continue, and another 2 million students will decline to enroll in the next 10 years. For Bill Whittle and Stephen Green, my name is Scott Ott. Thanks for watching Right Angle. Thanks to the members at BillWhittle.com who support it.